I will have two recordings. Two recordings are better than one.
I have to pull up my other notes.
Yeah, same here. I should do that, and I should put the thing on the screen. How much do you have to read today? Let's see. Oh,
Medium.
yeah, you get a pretty big block of text today. Well, there was
Say
one
medium.
recently where it's like two sentences.
Yeah, that was the one where I read it through the Satan filter.
Oh, right, because it was so short. Okay,
Well, I'm going to read this through a filter too, but it's going to be a little better, I think.
okay. Hold on, let me
Unless it isn't.
share the screen. Whiteboard text. Badly formatted text.
Oh no, it's ruining the exposure of my face. I'm so white now.
Mm. Hold on. Oh, I hit the wrong button. That's why it didn't work. Okay.
Are you going to have to read Mrs. Bronson's part before this because it doesn't work without Mrs. Bronson
I
saying
did, I
leading
did,
into it?
I did think about that. Which I guess what's her line? Do you remember?
I was like, we're something something. We're then can't say the word doomed.
Why don't I just when I ask you to read it, I'll just get really confused and you change it to Mr. Commages.
Okay.
I mean, the
Um.
word I'm looking for is not doomed, but it'll be like we'll use it that way.
Yeah. Well, you should be like, now I'm gonna have you read the
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
I'll interject right then.
Yes. Okay. Well, sometimes you plan these things ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh no, no, no.
oh, the connection that was death.
That was me. That was me.
Oh, I
All
guess
right.
I can say it on Patreon, but maybe well, I'm definitely not putting in a Twilight Zone episode. Have we discussed the fucking and sucking 7-Eleven?
No.
It's near my workplace. Like I stopped there on the way to a train station, right?
It's called fucking and sucking 7-Eleven on the
No,
sign or something.
no, I just thought that's what it is because everyone that works there looks like they're in their 20s, like, and they're all like J-pop
Uh,
wannabes, like like the men and the women, the boys and the girls, like dyed hair, earrings for everybody, and especially on Saturdays. Like whenever I'm there, I'll go to the counter, and within 5 seconds, someone comes out, but they're always like in the back room.
Did you ever notice that the Slurpee logo kind of looks like a poop?
Yeah, that's what I thought it was in the first place. To be honest. Oh,
It's
okay,
like
now I
you've
get
been
it.
in Japan for too long and you've seen too many poop merchandise.
True, that is true. I just assumed you had a poop on
Yeah.
there, and it seemed fine. Anyway, yeah.
I mean, I'd buy it. I'd
And
buy
I
a
went
holographic poop cup.
and I went into the fucking and sucking 7-Eleven a few days ago, and everyone was doing inventory or whatever. And I go to check out, and the guy that comes up, like maybe he's the manager. He's not wearing the 7-Eleven uniform. He's wearing like a black suit, like he looks kind of pimpy, and he's checking me out for my
Nice.
bottle of water or whatever. Now,
All right.
Maddie's boxing gym is a few doors down from it, so he goes there too, and he says it's not a fucking and sucking 7-Eleven because he's
How does
like
he know that?
because he goes there after boxing practice. He's all sweaty and pumped because he's been boxing and and they don't ask him to join in, so he's like they can't be doing it because they didn't ask me to join in.
Is he like, is he one of those people that's like somebody, he likes somebody and they don't ask him out, so they must be a lesbian or something like that?
No, exactly. No, he just said
That's
that
what it sounds like.
because I'm pumped, man. They would ask me to join them. I'm like ready to fuck.
Oh.
So yeah. Anyway, that's
Konnichiwa, buff man. Would you please join in sucking fucking session?
so anyway, that's my. It is funny though, because like especially Saturday, every single Saturday I go in there, and every single Saturday like there's no one in there, and then some dude just kind of saunters out of the back room after like 5 seconds. Like they have like a sense or
Jesus.
something to know someone's there, but I'm like, I bet they're making dirty movies back there.
I'd love to know like what kind of debaucherous, like where you, what the secretly getting your shit in Japan is like growing up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway, some since up with the 7-Eleven, or I guess it's
Mm.
kind of like in Seinfeld where Elaine is noticing that all the waitresses in the cafe are stacked. Which in that case, it turns out to be all the guy's daughters, right? So,
Or,
um,
sometimes your daughter is the same age as your wife. Whoa, shit.
what?
Wow.
I just took.
I did something.
I did
I think I
something.
messed it up. Oh, you did it. Never mind. I was just moving the window with our faces over to the left because that's where my
Oh,
camera's pointing.
I
I
just.
was looking at you over there and it was like I was
Yeah, it
seeing
was kind of
myself
weird.
doing this.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what happens when you have a 55-inch TV that you use as your monitor.
Oh,
So
okay.
you have to put the faces in the place.
Okay. Face is the place.
Faces the place.
Where's my notes? Okay, I guess we'll do this then. So
Does this sound Oh no, this doesn't. This was a that's not the filter I'm using, but I was making it.
it sounds like bad auto tune.
Auto tune.
Are you trying to
That's not
auto
what I'm
tune the
using
news?
today. That's not what I'm using today, though.
You
I
should
was just
auto
checking.
tune the news. Yeah, sure. You got
That'll be another one, but this I have
you could
something for this.
you
I
could
was
add
gonna
a little
hook
beat.
my guitar up for this, but I got too lazy.
Hmm. Are you sure you want to do that for such a large block of text?
Oh no, I know what I'm doing. It's not gonna be that.
Okay. Can I start the podcast?
You can
Wait.
start the podcast.
Hello, welcome to Time Enough Podcast. It's a podcast where we look at every episode of The Twilight Zone and beyond. Maybe we are the podcast that goes beyond, except we didn't doing the show beyond. I don't know. We might do the show beyond. Who knows? Hi, this is Matt here. There's Mark
Hi, I'm
there.
Beyond.
He's beyond Mark. You want to be
Beyond
beyond
the
Mark?
Eastern Hemisphere.
Ooh, yeah. This is a multi-hemisphere podcast. That's pretty cool.
This is a
So,
multi-hemisphere episode.
if it's sunny here, maybe it's not sunny there.
So maybe you'll die first.
Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit, but because this episode is the midnight sun.
It's
I mean, you can't have a midnight sun everywhere on a sphere, right?
Nope.
So, I mean, that's neither here nor there nor solar system. But let me do a little trivia based on this sun. Original air date was November 17th, 1961. The script is by Rod Serling. Anton Leader directed. His milieu was TV, and he took on many an episode in the 50s to 70s. But it was all like one episode here, one episode here. So I just couldn't even bother myself with a list. He will take one more turn in the Twilight Zone. Lois Nettleton, who played Norma, had a similarly journeyman trek through the wilds of 60s television, along with a smattering of movies. Most of the movie roles seem to be rather small, and again, was like one episode here, one episode there, and I couldn't be bothered to make a list. Mrs. Bronson was played by Betty Gard. She had roles on Broadway, which led to roles on early talkie films and eventually TV. She will appear in one more episode of The Twilight Zone. Tom Reese was the intruder. His mainstay was westerns, though his large size made him a movie rival for actors such as James Arness and Elvis Presley, who needed a slightly larger man to, I guess, get into fisticuffs with or whatever. Nathan Van Cleve returns to the zone with an original score. He also contributed to films like White Christmas and Robinson Crusoe on Mars. So, let me change the screen here, and Mark, I want you to get the do the you know. Oh my God, no, not that filter.
Because
I can't understand anything you're saying. I can't understand anything you're saying.
The word that Mr. Commodus is unable to put into the hot, still, sodden air is doomed, because the people you've just seen have been handed a death sentence. 1 month ago, the Earth suddenly changed its elliptical orbit, and in doing so began to follow a path which gradually, moment by moment, day by day, took it closer to the sun. And all of man's little devices to stir up the air are no longer luxuries. They happen to be pitiful and panicky keys to survival. The time is 5 minutes to 12. Midnight. There is no more darkness. The place is New York City, and this is the eve of the end. Because even at midnight, it's high noon, the hottest day in history, and you're about to spend it in the Twilight Zone.
Was it a death rattle? Was it your filter? Because your filter was the worst thing ever.
Oh, I could understand what I was saying, but I could understand what maybe you wouldn't understand what I was saying.
No, all I and the listener heard was like shouting at you, please stop.
I was gonna like play guitar over that, but I just too lazy to hook my guitar up.
Oh, that would have been even worse.
Seriously, is there a more metal intro than this? Is it possible?
It's pretty metal, yeah.
This is the doom metal of Twilight Zone episodes.
Okay.
It has doom in the description.
Except it would be it couldn't be New York City though. Is that feels like not metal enough. We need to change the place. What's the most metal city?
New York City. I don't know. In 1961 or 2, it might have been kind of metal. You probably get murdered easy.
No, I'm talking now. I want to know what is the most metal city now in 2023?
Albuquerque.
Why?
Phoenix. I heard
Why?
Phoenix is basically like 100 degrees most of the time.
I feel like it has to be something Scandinavian. I don't know.
Is it really sad that I was kind of like, wow, 110 degrees, that's not that much. Like the entire time.
Well, I mean, just constant 110, and it was also they're indoors. That's the indoor temperature, right? So
yeah,
theoretically, it's a little hotter outdoors.
They probably didn't have very good AC.
Yeah. One thing you could, I bet you could, if you really wanted to last longer, you could go hang out in the caves. I guess, like go to the Mammoth Cave series. That'll fit thousands of people.
That, along with, the fact that the sun can't be always out because the sun wouldn't be out.
Okay, there'd be a little.
We know
it'd be Mercury cold at night. Yeah.
The other times I've seen this episode, the ending hits me super hard because it's like, oh no, that's even worse. But then this time I was like, oh, they could just go to the Earth's core and they could live forever.
Yeah. Okay. Like a rogue planet. Yeah, that's cool. How do you get to the core?
Like Dark City. Oh, they wouldn't. That's the real sadness, is that they wouldn't. It would be like we could have probably stopped COVID from happening, but we didn't. And that would have been much easier than drilling to the Earth's core and getting a bunch of people down there. You know what
I mean? But I was thinking maybe, it is like, since the Earth's orbit has shifted, maybe it stopped turning. So Tokyo is freezing while New York is burning.
What if the dream was that she was living in New York, but she was actually living in Tokyo?
Yeah, that could have been another way to do it, right? That would be a more confusing way. I think it helps to have her be in the same place.
This is a great big old don't overthink it episode. I do love this episode. The pacing is perfect. It doesn't nothing overstays its welcome. It has like the one guest, or the intruder guy has a reason for being there.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of talking smack here, but I've up until doing this podcast, I would always cite this as being my favorite episode of Twilight Zone, and it might make it to be that when I finish the Twilight Zone. I'm not sure yet because I still have a few seasons to go. But
and I begged you for this episode because I love it. I mean, it's really, really great.
I thought about putting it in the trivia, but that seemed a little too lame. I was going to be like, this is time to podcast host Matt Commage's favorite episode of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think this is my favorite one anymore because I think Shadowplay may have edged it out.
Yeah, it's
which I hadn't seen before.
As I'm going through there's definitely ones where I'm like, nothing has like definitively bumped this out of my top spot though. I will say that, stuff Shadowplay I'd seen before, and I definitely like that one quite well. I like The Obsolete Man quite well. Eye of the Beholder
Mm.
definitely is good. Um, Willoughby has been my traditional like number two. So
I
I'm like,
mean,
some days I'm like, should that be number one? So
Willoughby is, yeah, that's great. That's I think my three favorites. I'll say my three favorites are this and Shadow Play and the After Hours from each like season so far.
okay, yeah, yeah, sure. So yeah, I guess I'm just like making excuses so we can like overthink it because it's kind of fun. But
Mhm.
we're overthinking it because we like it.
Yeah, it's a you can feel. I think they filmed this in the summer, right?
Well, or they just
They
cranked up the lights. I don't know. But yeah, it aired in November, so it probably was late summer, early fall, to be honest, because the turnover time was pretty fast in the '60s, right?
This is just one of those where you can feel it. You can feel the heat, you know, feel
Yeah.
the beat.
Is she a sweaty manic pixie dream girl?
Manic, sweaty dream girl.
Manic sweaty dream girl, yeah, because she's a painter in a New York loft, so yeah.
She's sort of like she's like a practical. I don't know. She's like the kind of dream girl that gets the makeover halfway through the movie, and she's like your friend, which
But
is
at this
like kind of
point,
a
she just
better.
sweats out.
She isn't very manic, actually.
Well, it's too hot to be manic.
She's
You know,
she comes across as very rational. I think Mrs. Bronson is the manic pixie dream G MILF.
I
She's the
don't like
crazy one.
I
She's
don't
like,
like that
"Don't
term.
paint the sun anymore. Don't paint the sun anymore."
That said, when I was doing the trivia, I found photos of her from the early talkies, and she was quite attractive. So,
I think she's still attractive. It's just
yeah, oh
like,
yeah, yeah, she was for an old lady. She was quite attractive. But I
yeah,
found the photo from 1930s. Oh, whoa, what do you know? Which
that's
is
what happens. I
that.
mean, we're watching that Leslie Nielsen film for the other podcast, and I'm like, this is like Leslie Nielsen's like on his way out at this point, but still, I'm like, damn, he looks great. I keep seeing him like, what an attractive older gentleman.
Yes, yes.
You kind of have to be pretty to make it in Hollywood on some level, unless you're the guy at the diner is calling himself a Martian. And
This
he's still
this
kind of attractive, honestly.
this is definitely the period when Rod Serling would just show up and crank out 10 prologues because we start getting those like dizzy cuts, right? Where he's
Yep.
clearly not in the same room. So just to call that out, because I think we were talking about that yesterday too. But this is a for sure one.
Yeah, but I mean, he took the trouble to integrate it with the story, which is always appreciated.
No, no, that's fine. I mean, I'm just like noting that this is definitely when he's not like
Not in
day
the
to day
room,
on the
yeah.
show anymore. Yeah, yeah. So, um, how many how many movies go for the hot taco hot taco blips, hot taco
Hot topic,
blips, hot taco blips?
hot topic eclipse
Yeah,
when the hot topic blows up.
because
I don't.
there's the British movie The Day the Earth Caught Fire, which I think is a similar
Oh,
thing of the Earth is moving towards the sun.
I'm not a big disaster movie person, so I haven't really. Don't think I've really seen any.
I like natural disaster movies, like the Poseidon Adventure and the Towering Inferno have never been like that appeal. I'm like, well, their boat turned over. They shouldn't have gone on a boat in the first place. But
I like. I mean, I've said this before, but I like specifically like films where man is the villain,
yeah,
and when you're
you don't
going up
like
against
a
nature, when you're going up against nature, it's like there's no. It's just survival. There's no conflict, and I like conflict.
you don't
I
want to
want
rock
people
out
to
in space the size of Texas.
like. I didn't really like the film Gravity because it was just like Sandra Bullock versus Gravity. Or it wasn't even her versus Gravity. It was like her versus space.
Microgravity.
Microaggressions. Like Gravity was just doing microaggressions to her.
Well, the title is even more wrong in Japan then because it was zero gravity, where in actuality
Mm.
it should be called microgravity in that case, right?
Yeah, she was
Low
close enough, right?
low Earth orbit, you're not zero gravity; it's just microgravity. If you weren't falling around the planet constantly, you'd have some gravity.
I I know I said this on another podcast where I thought the movie I went into the movie thinking it was going to be about the Earth's gravity not working anymore because that had been pitched as a movie idea.
Isn't that the
I've said
core?
this right.
No, I don't think it
No,
is.
no, no. That movie wasn't made, but it was like I heard about it. And I was like, that sounds crazy.
No, I'm
So
just
I
saying,
thought
isn't
that I
that
was
kind of the
going.
plot to the core?
I didn't see it.
The Earth's core stops spinning, and
Not a big disaster movie person,
yeah, okay. I guess yeah. Like this is
but
how's
I'll
this
be
one
there
rate?
for Gravity not working anymore because that sounds wacky as hell.
Anyway, this one does sort of. I mean, this is a disaster movie in 25 minutes
It is, but
without a
you
human
also
villain. I mean, the closest guy to the villain is the intruder, who turns out to just be a guy that snapped, right?
I also say, it's like Melancholia, which I, even though I hate Lars von Trier, I did kind of enjoy that film because it was interesting. Like the idea of the entire Earth being destroyed is such a huge, like, crushing devastation, especially by the sun. It's like the sun is the kind of need the sun, right? Like
Mm,
that's like your parents killing you. That's like your parents turning on you and killing you or your
yeah,
baby.
I
Like not
guess.
even that.
But yeah, I guess like you were saying, like in the alternate situation, it's more like you could work something out because in this one, you're going to turn into a cinder before too long, right?
The sun, I looked it up. The sun is 10,000 degrees. So if they're at 110 degrees, they're like nowhere near. They're like actually really not very close to the sun yet.
We know the nastiness of this situation is it's like what the not the frog, the lobster in the pot or whatever, like it just slowly
Hmm.
increases and it's going to go past that in this case. Like
It's
I
like
guess
if the lobster knew who you were and they knew what water was and knew what the pot was
I
and
mean
it knew.
I guess everyone's died of heat exhaustion by the end of the dream at least.
It'd be like if you had a pet lobster and you boiled it after you got to know it for a really long time. That's
Isn't
what
that
it'd be
what they do in
like.
the military?
Do they give ranks to lobsters?
Sergeant Lobster.
Isn't there like a horse that was a sergeant?
There is a horse that's the mayor of a village in Canada.
Huh. Well, maybe it's the same horse. Who knows?
Right, right. So,
There's nothing that says a horse can't have two careers.
mm. No, and here she asks her to paint something cool. Oh, this was a weird thought I had this time. I just looking at the paintings in the background, I was like, oh, well, those were probably painted a few weeks ago when everything was dandy, right? I don't know. It was just an interesting thought, Just yeah, like when she
I
painted that, no, there were no problems.
I took it as I wasn't really sure, and I'm even less sure. But I took it as she didn't have a job anymore because society was over, so she's free to paint.
That maybe that's it. Okay, but she had a lot on
That's
the
what I
walls,
figured.
right? So you
Yeah,
know,
I mean, she might have always been kind of a painter, but I think it's like now she really has a lot of time to do it. Just like if the world ended right now, I would just play Elden Ring
the power cut out, but they have
until
that
uh,
problem because I
until
went.
a neighbor came over and was like, "Stop fighting that tree! Stop it!"
Yeah, but well, your power goes out. I wrote, crap, the radio shut off and the vinyl already melted 3 days ago. So
I have enough battery backup to play Switch games for a few hours, probably.
can it stand extreme heat?
Actually, that would be very, very. That would be something I would just bury in the backyard immediately. Is all my backup batteries because some of those are like scary, like
Mm.
sized. Like when you hold something that's like maybe fits in the palm of your hand, but it weighs like 2 pounds. That's pretty scary, right?
Yeah, I guess so. So it's loaded with
Could
power.
explode. Yeah, I could
Loaded with power.
absolutely. Well, you hear about people's iPhones exploding and like burning their leg, and this is like 7 times the size of that battery.
So okay, so you'll be good with the Switch until it's too hot for the
I
Switch to even function.
I actually already almost blew up my Switch. So, and I did take that outside and put it in the yard because I was afraid it was going to explode. And it
what
was the 4th of July.
what are my notes when Miss Bronson's going nutty? Paint something cool. How about Poochie? But
Yeah,
I think what Miss Bronson really wanted was some Bob Ross paintings. She
that
needed
makes
Bob
sense.
Ross. She needed Bob
She,
Ross.
yeah. Do you
Yeah.
think that Bob Ross, what do you think it would look like when Bob Ross finally broke in this situation? You think he would
Um.
never break? Do you think he would just be like, oh dear, I'm kind of sweaty?
Oh, the pretty little clouds
Oh
are
dear.
melting away, just dripping on down the canvas.
I think he would break harder than anyone's ever seen anyone break. I think he would just
It,
go like, it's
he'd
like
go back into
sir.
drill sergeant mode. Wasn't he a drill sergeant or something?
I think that was Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, and Bob Ross too, though, was some notable like military role like you would not equate with TV's Bob Ross. So
Like when the intruder came in, Bob Ross would just like started just breaking all of his fingers and stuff and just like disemboweling him while screaming like, this is what happens. This is what happens.
I am now the disemboweler.
Happy
Bob Ross.
trees, happy trees.
Bob Ross is no more. It's disemboweler time.
I'm Rob Boss.
What's
Now.
I was typing his name and you totally threw me off by doing that.
It's the age of Rob Boss. Ah.
He would have been 20 years old in this situation. In early
Eh,
life, he lost part of his left index finger. Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah.
Military career, Air Force, Master Sergeant.
Okay.
Okay, that doesn't mean drill sergeant though, but he was a master sergeant. So, um,
He's master
having
of something.
having held military positions that required him to act tough and mean, the guy who makes you scrub the latrine, the guy who makes you make your bed, the guy who screams at you for being late to work, Ross decided he would not raise his voice when he left the military. So I guess he was a drill sergeant.
Oh, dude, it was like the whole thing was like a silent protest against just he was the opposite of the
Of
guy
his
from Full
20
Metal
year,
Jacket.
yeah, silent protest of his 20-year Air Force career. Now, if that sergeant had retired and not been shot by Private Pyle, maybe he would have retired and started painting
I mean,
little
isn't that
happy
guy just
trees.
like that in real life though? Because he's played that same character in like 8 other things.
Well, he was on many movies. He was the military consultant, and Kubrick
Was
was
he
just like
actually really
this.
nice? Probably.
Yeah, he was, but yeah, he was apparently. But yeah, Kubrick was like, why
Yeah.
don't you just do this? You know? So to but so they were worried like, but he's not an actual actor, so can he do this on film? So his
Oh.
audition was him screaming insults for like 20 minutes while they threw like ping pong balls at him or
I mean,
something, tennis
Slim
balls.
Pickens wasn't really an actor either, right? Like that. I don't
Well, he was a
know. I
Western
guess
guy.
Kubrick. Oh
He's
yeah,
a
I guess he
Western actor.
was.
Are you calling people in Westerns not
I
actors?
guess, or
That's a hot
did
take.
was it? I thought he was. No, no. I thought he was. Please don't get mad at me, internet Western fans. No, I mean, wasn't there something? Was it Blazing Saddles or Doctor Strangelove where he didn't know what kind of movie he was in?
Doctor
It was
Strangelove.
one of those two. Okay,
He knew it was a funny movie when he was doing Blazing Saddles, but Doctor
okay,
Strangelove he did not. Apparently, that's what they say. Maybe he did and just
okay.
decided to let him
Uh,
keep their story. You know,
well, what do you think that Stanley Kubrick would have cast Bob Ross in?
The Midnight Sun.
Okay. Wow, I'd really love to see that Stanley Kubrick doing a feature length version of this starring Bob Ross.
It was kind
That'd
of
be
a joke to get back
incredible.
to topic, but at the same time, it's also my answer.
That would be incredible. I would absolutely watch that
Although
if
this,
only he had been available for Twilight Zone the movie and they decided to go that direction.
yeah, Bob Ross was right at prime age. He would have just retired from the military and had been ready to do the Midnight Sun in 1983. Except this is a whether being how much is intentional, how much is accidental, I don't know. But this is a very female-centered episode, which again is not like it with agency, right? We definitely
Yes,
pass our Bechdel test here, so
it feels a little bit like it's asking for permission to give the women agency, but it still is pretty great in that respect.
yeah, because the only men is the dude that's leaving near the beginning. Um, oh, that's where I noticed Mrs. Bronson was still an attractive old lady because I was like the departing mom is not.
You're
Sorry,
shipping them?
no, I was just saying that the departing mom because there's the family
Yeah.
leaving for Toronto. I was like, oh, she's more
Uh,
attractive than that younger lady. Which
hmm.
after trying to put a feminist punch on the episode down, I just ruined it by saying that. But
You have failed the Bechdel test.
I have. But yeah, it's that father, the intruder, and Rod Serling.
Mhm.
That's the only. I guess the
Well, and
women.
the
There's only three women too, but they get a lot more. Well, two of them get a lot more screen time.
and the intruder, to be fair, I think you get something from the intruder that is almost like you get the a more human perspective than he might. I don't know if it's like that he broke down because he's just upset because it's super hot. but,
They do
but
say
that
heat waves cause crime.
but it didn't, yeah, do the right thing.
I definitely was
This is like
wondering.
do the right thing. I'm like, did this influence do the right thing? Because it feels kind of like do the right thing.
Maybe I was wondering when Mrs. Bronson finally collapses. Miss Bronson, Mrs. Which was it? One of the
Mrs.
two.
Bronson.
Mrs. You're right. My note said Miss, but yeah, Rod said Mrs. Okay. Anyway,
I wrote.
I wondered if she was going to be. She looked like she was about to fall out of the window. So I was really
I
scared for her falling out of the window because
yeah,
that's a
that
very
is a
likely
risk.
event
Yes.
in the Twilight Zone.
I know because I put in all caps. No, no, don't unlock it, Mrs. Bronson, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, that was definitely the dumbest thing in the episode that she did. So
It's like, no. Well, luckily that guy wasn't like a total murderer because he did get that gun really easily.
he did it. He did some nasty on their water
Yeah, he poured it over himself. That was
and then
disgusting.
broke their container.
Yeah, what a
Like you
maniac.
can't have any more water now.
I also wrote in my notes that like he says he's not a housebreaker, he's a decent man, and I said not anymore. I wasn't super into forgiving this guy, but you do at least get something from him. It's like he at least confesses that he does a confession that's not just like, why can't you dames just give me the water?
And
That's
do remember 5 minutes after this, the thermometer explodes, meaning it's definitely no longer 110 degrees.
yeah, and the painting just melts and
Oh,
everyone screams.
okay. Yeah, I did want to ask it. Well, we were talking yesterday in one of the chats about in the arrival, sticking the hand in a propeller is one of the best moments of the Twilight Zone. I think the
Hmm.
melting painting counts in that too.
Yeah, the exploding thermometer, melting painting, screaming Norma combo is a classic. It's that should be iconic if it isn't.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. See, I might be blinded by this episode, or it might be like everyone's favorite. I really am not sure how this rates because I feel like you don't hear this one
Eh,
thrown out when with iconic episodes so much.
I've definitely in past years cited this as like, man, that one episode where that thing happens is really cool, and people usually seem to react positively to it for what it's worth. I mean, that's probably not. I don't go around talking about Twilight Zone everywhere I go
Why not?
yet. I mean, maybe I do now.
5 years ago to party, you weren't the guy just going on about the Twilight Zone.
Once in a while.
Okay. It comes
I
up,
mean,
right?
the
Sure, why
last time
not?
I went to a party, I went on and on about the plot of Death Stranding, which sounded like completely insane.
Yeah.
And I
So
had a really good time.
how do you feel about this twist? This is another one where like I mean it's kind of fun, but it doesn't really matter that much. I mean the episode's everything up to the twist, right?
I love the twist personally because it's that thing where it overcompensates in a horrifying way. I think there's a feeling of relief. I mean, didn't you like the way I said you could feel how hot the episode is? There's this feeling of relief when it just goes to like, oh, it's snowing,
Well, she's
and
quite
then you
happy.
realize that it's yeah,
She'll
it's
be
like you.
okay.
That's another great thing about Mrs. Bronson is that look on her face at the end. It's just like,
She's gonna go crazy in a different, more subdued way now.
yeah, cold crazy.
Yeah, cold crazy. You don't move as much when you're
It's the
cold
sequel
crazy.
episode. It's called Cold Crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
I just
this has
decided.
an 8.4 out of 10 on the IMDb, which is, I think, pretty high.
Yeah, okay. At the end I was like, oh, maybe this is in like the day after tomorrow verse.
Hmm.
Not
Yeah,
really, because
maybe. I
they
didn't see
say
it.
that the day after they're not flying away from the sun in that movie. I was just, you know, they have like New York under ice in that movie, so came to mind. Um,
So episodes rated higher than this on
yeah,
IMDb: Eye of the Beholder.
I mean, I don't agree, but I can see that, sure.
Yeah, it's the iconography again.
But I
It's
already
like
said I might agree to a certain extent. Maybe I
um,
think they should both be 8.4s. Okay,
The Silence is tied with it. The
okay.
Obsolete Man and Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up are a little higher.
Really,
Uh,
Martian's higher. Okay, that's slightly surprising.
guess people like it. I don't know. I enjoyed that. Time Enough at Last is higher.
Yeah.
Uh, what did I say it was? 8.4, and then The Sky Was Open is tied with
Hmm.
it. And yeah, like most of it's rated higher than most of the things we watch. Monsters on Maple Street is a little higher, which
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah. I guess there
Stop
isn't
at
like
Willoughby.
I mean, there isn't like merch you would have for this one. I mean, where are you going to sell people
Mhm.
melting paintings and sweaty women?
I'll take 8.
So there's yeah, I guess that's one thing because Will the Real Martian, you can like have a little figurine of the dude with his third eye, right? So this doesn't
Yeah,
really have anything like that. So again,
big
Eye of
man.
the Beholder, here's the pig people, yeah. So that might keep this one from being like one of the first ones that people crop up. But as I said, I'm just like have considered this for years to be like my number one. So I'm like, where does this actually rank in people's world?
So when I said that I really liked Penny for your thoughts, you were like trying to overanalyze that. Now you're trying to overanalyze your own the episode that you like.
Yeah.
Man, just let yourself like stuff.
I will,
Sometimes
but
stuff is really good.
no, I love this. I'm just like, in the midst of a discussion, it's kind of fun to,
Uh,
road wear it a bit. Yeah.
I want to
Road
give
test
you
it.
one. I want to give you one guess at the one episode that's coming up soon that is rated higher than
Cavender is coming.
this.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say lowest.
Coming up soon. No.
It's a good life.
Nope.
No. Okay.
No, 5 characters in search of an exit.
Oh, huh, really?
Again,
I mean, that's a
that's
great one, but
it
I
is
like this
really
one
great.
better.
Oh, I think that also, like I said about the iconography, is like that one is very clearly just Toy Story. I think people have like glommed onto that over time. When I saw the first time in modern times, I remember seeing it, I was like, "Oh, it's Toy Story."
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Uh,
I think I just spoiled a twist for anybody who hasn't seen
I
it. So,
I feel like that's one that everyone
sorry.
kind of knows. But hey, again, sorry if you
Yeah,
don't.
that is the
Um,
entire twist. Is oh, it's Toy Story.
I mean, but that's what I'm saying with the Midnight Sun. Someone could tell you the twist before you see it, and it doesn't really kill the episode in any particular way. I mean, I guess it's nice to have that
No,
first, like, oh my god, if you don't see it coming, but you might see it coming,
you definitely would be watching this and wonder what is going to happen aside from just everyone melting, because they're not going to show everyone just melting in claymation or anything.
Like the end of the Evil Dead.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that. Couldn't afford to, and still wouldn't, even if they could.
Maybe Stanley Kubrick's 1982 The Midnight Sun remake starring Bob Ross would have. You'd see Bob
What
Ross turn into goo.
what's Stanley Kubrick's version of turning into goo? What would he do for that? Would he like? Do you think he would do like a very, very, very immaculate like stop motion where you do like in camera weird tricks,
Well,
effects?
he'd tell someone to do the stop motion, right? He wouldn't really do
Mm.
that. I mean, and then he'd tell them they did it wrong 5 times before he approved it. But
He would hire like someone who's a performance artist to be in like a melting guy costume.
yeah, they could have talked to our old buddy Dan Richter,
Yeah,
right, to go melt for
exactly. Yes,
him.
you would hire him as the melting guy.
That he'd play Mrs. Bronson.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Mrs. Bronson would be actually be an ape. Be played by an ape.
Well, he doesn't
Mrs.
always wear the suit.
Bronson, what are you doing?
No, he'd be in the alien costume they tested for 2001 but didn't use.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
if no one knows what I'm talking about, do look that up on Google. It's insane.
Yes, dude.
Um,
What
as
if it
for
was like Van Damme in the Predator costume that they didn't use?
yeah, sure. I'm just trying to keep it Kubrick centric because you asked. um,
Yeah.
for this episode, who in this episode goes in the Twilight Zone?
I want to say the entire Earth, but it's obviously Norma who goes to the Twilight Zone.
Oh, okay. Wait. Norma
You didn't
is.
think so?
Wouldn't Miss Bronson have gone a little deeper? Because Norma, well, she doesn't keep her cool, but she keeps it together more or less until the last
Well,
3 seconds. Unless you're saying that's the Twilight Zone.
if you really want to pick at this episode, most of it was just a dream, and
Mrs.
it was a
Bronson
dream
starts
that
screaming halfway
it was
through.
a rational dream. It was a rational dream. So
Oh,
it's
see, I
just Norma went
okay,
into the Twilight Zone.
good point because I just did the question like without even considering the twist, didn't I?
Yeah, I mean it's not hard to do that because you get to know the dream version of the characters so well, and it doesn't really adhere to dream logic very well, but
Well,
except
except for
for
the aforementioned, like what about Tokyo sort of stuff? Because in the real
actually, yeah.
situation,
Now that you mention it, that does completely solve that. paradox.
That's why I didn't
It's
like
like,
dwell on it too much. Because
okay, I didn't even think about that, but yeah,
now
that
they're
makes perfect sense.
spiraling away from the sun. It doesn't matter where you are on the planet; it's cold.
Yeah, how would she know how the sun works? She's oh,
So keep in mind the
I
actual
was gonna say a
situation.
joke, but it's not. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sure that someone's like, dames don't know how the sun works.
That's what the intruder could have said if he was the guy you wanted or
That would
didn't
be
want.
would that be a would this episode be better if he was like, why is the sun always in the sky? And then she wakes up. This doesn't make sense.
And then she jumps and starts floating. Dream check.
Starts dodging bullets. No,
Mm.
yeah, that. Well, yeah, I don't think they actually thought about how the sun would work, and that just is a coincidence.
So I guess my more keeping the twist in mind answer would be everyone goes into the Twilight Zone because she's just having a
Yeah,
dream, right? If the
yeah. I
Twilight
mean, how
Zone,
trippy is that everyone dying going to be
yeah,
when they flying out into space?
if the if the Twilight Zone is what nudged the Earth out of its orbit, right? Now, if it was a natural phenomenon, then there's no Twilight Zone anyway,
Hmm.
unless you want to call the
Yeah,
natural phenomenon Twilight Zone. But
I
you know,
think that
maybe
I
maybe Russia blew up the big czar and it just pushed the Earth out of orbit.
wow.
And I'm
Maybe
not
it was
picking on
Planet
Russia because
X.
for politics, just because they actually did blow up the biggest bomb,
Yeah,
which was the
they
Big Czar.
did the Sarabamba.
Okay. Oh, Big Czar was not the Czar
Yeah, I think
bomb.
Zarabamba. Well, maybe they didn't blow up the Zarabamba. Now I'm like,
Okay. Anyway, they had bigger bombs, so they won the Cold War.
yes, it was the most. The Zarabamba was the most powerful nuclear weapon ever created and tested.
Oh, and
I
tested.
just
Okay.
really like the name of it. I think it's awesome.
Anyway, if that
Imagine
had
like going through all that trouble to like have a revolution in your country and replace the government, and then just have another czar.
yeah, if you blow that bomb up and it does nudge the Earth out of orbit, is that the Twilight Zone or is that just stupid people?
I think that sometimes the Twilight Zone is fueled by stupid people.
Okay. So, but
I
yeah, I guess it just depends on what you want to call it. Twilight Zone. It's everyone or no one, right?
I think the Twilight. I think it's safe to say the Twilight Zone is what caused the Earth to go out of orbit, and I would. I don't know. I'd be interested to just see where is the Earth going. I bet a bunch of astronomers are having a really interesting time, being like, "Oh, where are we going? Are we gonna hit
This is
Mars?"
really interesting. I'm
Yeah,
having the
like,
time of my life.
yeah, but like, what? We don't know how to measure that. Like, what's going on? You could probably like use charts to figure out where you're going, and like
Yeah.
whether your Venus is rising or whatever.
Mm.
Aries.
Mercury's in retrograde. That's
Yeah,
that's
if,
what
If
astronomers do, right?
Mercury's in retrograde, then you must quit.
Yeah, because you're not going to get anything done. Um,
Mercury in retrograde is kind of not real anyway, because that basically is Earth
so do
centric. It
so
only
do,
makes sense if the Earth is the center of the universe. Like
okay.
it involves Mercury moving away from the Earth.
So if everyone on Earth has traveled to the Twilight Zone, do the overly excited astronomers deserve their trip into the Twilight Zone? Because it's
No.
everyone on Earth, so I got to focus on someone, right?
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, actually we do, because we
No,
haven't
just the
even
astronomers.
we've
Just the
talked about this
astronomers.
for like an hour, and we haven't said the words climate change once. And this is entirely this is so relevant because of climate change. It's really yeah, we do. Everyone on Earth deserves to go to the Twilight Zone.
Okay,
Deserve-
yay.
we pretty much deserve for the Earth to do anything that it wants to do. Really.
Okay, so everyone's deserving of everything.
We all deserve to have the thing happen in the fountain where the tree goes through Hugh Jackman's chest.
Yeah, yeah,
We
okay.
deserve that.
Yeah, that's a cool movie.
Pretty trippy. Oh, that's like a 5 on the tripometer.
How about this one?
Oh, this one, I'm gonna say, let's say a 4.20.
Mm,
Man,
okay, burning books, are you? Oh wait, no, man,
pretty.
you're burning ganja there. Okay,
I mean, both. You
I I,
could
I mixed.
use books to light your weed, man.
Yeah, but it could be a little bit more cool and light your book on fire, as Ray Bradbury told us.
No, but I stick with that. I think it's a little over a 4 because it is extremely it's extremely trippy because you're watching, an environment. You're watching like an
I'm I'm
environmental change.
I'm gonna go up to 4.5.
Cool.
I don't want to quite go for the five because
No,
I'm like, well, Shadow plays strippier. Um,
I agree. Yeah, it's not shadow play. And who knows, there might be something even trippier than that that's coming down the pipe, and I'm
but again,
not
the
sure what that'd be.
melting, the exploding thermometer, melting, painting, and screaming. That's a full on five. So that almost
Yeah.
makes me want to just go ahead and give this a five. I'm like, well, okay. Eye of the Beholder is probably a little trippier. Shadow Play is probably a little trippier. So maybe I don't even remember what I
It's
gave.
like
I gave Eye of the Beholder from the tripometer, but
I think I think you might have given it a 4, but I don't remember.
okay.
Someone's
Anyway,
screaming at the one person who's listened to all the episodes is screaming at the podcast right now. No, I think that
the
what holds it
tripometer is
back.
subject to change.
I think what holds it back for me from like a full 5 is just the fact that we've all lived through hot days and been like felt it. It's like
Mm,
you're not
not this
experiencing
hot.
anything. No, not that hot. Well,
110's
I
the
don't
starting
know.
place. 110 was the
110.
starting
Okay.
place. That was the
Okay. Okay.
starting place. And then
I'm
remember
gonna
the
say I've
they
for sure been driving home from work in the summer, and the car was like 110.
yeah.
Like, okay,
Oh,
great.
I
I mean,
definitely
that's just
got
'cause I have a black car.
I definitely got some Dawn of the Dead vibes from the media breakdown as the people on the radio just don't care anymore.
Yeah, that's great.
That
I
was
don't
fantastic.
know.
Or
What is it gonna happen? It's gonna be hot. What? Yeah,
or
that
some
was
very
great.
morbid SCTV sort of stuff.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of Night of the Comet, which I think I mentioned. Did I just mention that on the chat the other night,
I
or
don't
was I
remember,
talking to
but
somebody else about that?
yeah.
All these conversations are running together, but
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a good example of a post-apocalyptic thing because it feels like people are getting on with their lives, but it's also like weird.
I can't think of a good apocalyptic media breakdown before this because
Um,
all the nuclear war films make it seem like things will just keep, the media will keep running till they can't, right?
my brain goes immediately to Dragon Ball Z, where a cell blew up the
Well,
newsroom,
again,
but
way
that's
later. I'm going earlier.
okay.
I'm thinking
I
the
mean,
other
there's a
because all
network.
of our that's also way later. So you're just proving my point. But I mean, there could very well be something in the 50s that's kind of cheeky and does it right. But
Hmm.
I guess the apocalypse movies didn't really start cranking out until about this time.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I feel like for a disaster movie or an apocalypse movie, you have to. Well,
There's a
sure, the
time machine,
apocalypse
but
was
there's
on
no
people's
media.
mind. I'm sure apocalypse was a lot more on people's mind after, say, 1945.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
also,
That's part of what I'm getting at there.
I'm sure you know about this, where there's like basically UFO sightings barely existed before we detonated an atom bomb, and then they
Mhm.
just like exploded literally, not literally exploded. They became a lot more frequent after that,
Right.
in the 40s.
But
So it's just
like
like
200 years before that, they just would have been like it's a demon in the sky, right? So
I guess you're right. I mean, I
they'd
don't know.
seen if they'd
I'm
mistaken or
so
seen something or not mistaken, but
I'm so agnostic about aliens. I wish I was like a true believer, but I just feel like I don't feel like it's worth their time to come out here if
they
wherever they
live
are.
in other dimensions on Earth, man.
That would be the easy way. You think that they go like Event Horizon and this is hell for them?
Yes.
That makes sense. Oh no, I went through the portal and people were eating milk from cows that was curdled.
Yeah, yeah, that could be it. Okay.
They were
Uh,
whipping each other.
mm,
Anyway, what
whipped
what were we
cream.
actually talking about before this? Disaster movies. Yeah, I would think that disaster movies probably had much more of a market after World Wars One and Two,
Yes. Earth versus the Flying
and
Saucers. I mean,
also
the Day the
just
Earth Stood Still is kind of a disaster movie, I guess, in a way. But the
well, like
media
movie
does not break down.
technology. Just like you could look at even though Metropolis is like such an achievement, you couldn't really have made Metropolis into like a huge
They didn't blow
Like,
Metropolis up real good.
yeah, I mean that
They could
movie's
have blown
still
it
like
up though.
incredible. Well, it's incredible how much they got done in that movie, but it still didn't feel like they were quite to the point where they could have like made that city just get destroyed, which actually makes that a better film because, well,
Also, just be sad to watch all of that get destroyed at the end, kind of like at the end of Logan's Run, where they're setting their city on fire, and you're like, oh, and
yeah,
that's not even as cool as the
yeah.
Metropolis one. Well, in
And you
its own
barely
way,
even
it's
it's a matte
cool,
that
but
matte painting got set on fire. No, like you never even really get to explore Logan's Run all that much. I mean, granted the waterfall and all that cave and all that stuff look really cool, but
yeah, we needed more
um
of the city. Um,
yeah, well, if they'd adapted the book properly, you would have gotten
well,
more
the
of the
whole
city, and then
planet
you've
was a
gotten
city, basically.
well, you would have gotten like Mars after that,
Uh-uh.
which probably would have been even cooler. So maybe someday.
Okay. Well,
Spoilers for Logan's Run. I'm sorry, I've spoiled
the
way too
book.
much this episode. Yes,
You
the book.
spoiled. Yeah,
I spoiled a book
that's
that's
the
probably
ultimate
100 years
sin.
old now. But yeah, I like I said, I don't really like disaster movies that much. The city blowing up doesn't sound that fun. I think that the workers revolting and being friends with the Maria robot at the end is more fun.
The peasants are revolting. I guess I'll wrap this one up for today. This is Time Enough Podcast. It's at on Twitter. It's at on Facebook. On Patreon, we're at Podcastio Podcastius, where you can support us, get episodes early, help us keep the servers running. We also talk about the 100 best movies and the 100 worst movies as rated on IMDb. In the Films and Filth podcast, talk about weird Disney and occult Disney. Mark and I talk about The Prisoner, although that's probably just about to wrap up or has wrapped up with Imprisoned in Prison, another Prisoner prison cast. And there's video game stuff with Luke Loves Pokemon, the game show of four British guys hurling game trivia at each other aggressively. And by that time, I guess they're also talking about Zelda, and that podcast probably does have a name now, but as of this recording, don't know what it is.
Well, now they have to because we've said it on at least 3 different podcasts.
It's Hyrule,
Hyrule,
Hyrule.
Hyrule,
I'm still thinking of where to
Hyrule, honey.
go.
How Hyrule, honey, I'm home. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Hyrule,
Okay.
how you doing?
Okay. I'm gonna wake up
I'm
from
gonna
such
start that.
from this nightmare.
All right, stay warm
Stay
or cold.
chilly.